So I'm interested in hearing your all's opinion. And like I said, there's no right or wrong as far as I'm concerned. I just want to hear what you think, what your feelings are. If we can have a discussion about it, great. If not, it's okay. It's okay.
I'm sure we'll get into all this at length, but it is very interesting to me in the current political environment just how salient politics and political beliefs have become, and at a time when religious participation is waning and you have people struggling to find meaning in life, it's almost as though they are clinging desperately to these political tenets as opposed to religious tenets. So politics has largely, in my view, replaced religion in a lot of people's lives. And so now what you have, and this goes back to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, is when you try to have conversations with people who have replaced religion with politics, and you step on one of those tenets of theirs, it isn't now just a disagreement. You are challenging a fundamental, deeply held belief of mine, right? To the same degree as if you were challenging a religious belief. And so the reaction is much more violent, much more severe, much more visceral. And I think that has really, really damaged the ability to have any kind of discourse.
I would like to start with that. Scott, it's just so profound what you just said. You probably saw the read ahead I sent to you, a quote from Jonathan Rauch. He's a profound atheist, but he's also a Brookings Institute contributing writer for the Atlantic. He works at the Brookings Institute. He's an author and all that. He's what I consider an intellectual. Being an atheist, I consider his opinion very objective about religion, because he's not wedded to it. And this is what he said: instead of a theological affinity for Jesus Christ, millions of Americans are being drawn to the evangelical label because of the association with the GOP. Now, the data indicates that more and more Americans are conflating evangelicalism with republicanism and melding two forces to create a movement that is not entirely about politics or religion, but power. That's sort of what you're saying. What has started as a premise, as a faith premise, as a faith position, has been sucked into a political environment. But the zeal is there, the religious zeal, but it's the power, it's the control. It's I'm right, you're wrong. There's no discussion in between, is what my view is.
So you can see it on both sides. So I'll give you an example in terms of the language that is used. So regardless of how you feel, say, about climate change, right? In discussions regarding climate change, the terminology climate denier is used. For anybody who doesn't subscribe to the popular held belief regarding climate change and its root causes, that to me sounds like very, very religious language. You deny Christ, climate denier. And a lot of these are beliefs that are not held necessarily just in principle, but in a moral standing, right? Like you said, if you deny this, you're an evil person, right? And again, it's a both sides issue. That I think people's lives are so empty and devoid of meaning. These political arguments have replaced religion and those other sources of meaning, especially for young men. Young men are basically wayward. They spend their entire day on the internet without building a family, without building any meaning. I think, statistically, men are dating later and later now. I mean, mid-20s, and they've never even been on a date. Fewer and fewer of them are driving cars. Fewer and fewer of them are going on dates. They're not taking life by the reins. They're stagnating. And what is replacing all of those traditional sources of meaning? Politics.
That's very interesting. Now, Lewis, I really am interested in your view. I'm sorry we didn't get into our backgrounds, but I know, Lewis, you were raised in the church. I know that. And I don't know where you are now, but I know you probably not as zealous as you once were, like me. So how do you process all this?
Yeah, well, I will say having that communication and doing your own research, asking questions there is a change of your views as you grow up and you have access to more information and I definitely am a Christian. I believe in God. But my views on social issues have changed over the years. Yeah, to play off of that question about a blending of Christianity and the Republican side, one of the reasons I think I see that and agree with that is because now more than I've ever seen, politics in general are mostly social issues. And a lot of people, especially young people, when I was in my 20s, I didn't care about politics. I just didn't really pay attention all too much about it. I didn't feel at that time in my life like it was important or made a big impact on me at the time. Of course, I've changed my views. I think it's important no matter what age you are. But there also wasn't a large grasp of these social issues in politics when I was that age. But now, like I said, it's all about abortion or gay rights and even immigration and things like that are more social issues. And I think that's what Christianity is also more social issues. So if you're a Christian and you see maybe the Democratic Party that believes and they're only pushing social issues, not talking about tax or foreign policy or other things, they're only focusing on social issues, and you're a Christian who believes on certain social issues, then yeah, of course you're going to veer away from that party who is saying, well, we believe in, just to lump it all together really quickly. Not, of course, you can expand on any one of these, but saying, gay or trans or, abortion, I think that's one of the main reasons why let's say a Christian who isn't doing the research or asking questions or challenging what's being told to them is going to always veer towards the Republican side just because, like I said, of the social issues. I will say, and kind of ashamed to say, that I did not believe in gay marriage as a young kid because I never spent the time to look into it. Now, of course, I believe in God, I'm a Christian, but I'm all for gay marriage. It's just things that change over time as you get older and ask those questions.
Probably you're like me when members of our family came forth.
Yeah.
It caused us to think.
Yeah. And that very same member, I owe a lot to him because this was even something that I said the day that I got married, him being in the wedding, and I'll try not to get emotional about it, but he's one of the main people in my lives that have caused me to want to challenge everything and ask questions. Seeking out knowledge whenever you can. Don't believe everything that you hear. And even if it makes you uncomfortable, just give it 30 seconds. If you're watching a TikTok or something, if it's from the other side and you don't like what you're hearing, just listen to the rest of the video. Just see, you may hear something at the very end that makes you think, oh, well, maybe I'm not 100% correct in what I believe, and it will help you grow as a person.
I want to build on that point, but I want to go to you first, Scott. Can you briefly touch on your faith background and how you reconcile all this now? Just share whatever you want to share.
I grew up in a very strict Christian household in the Church of Christ. My parents are still members of the Church of Christ. I'm kind of in a period of self-discovery in terms of what I believe. I will say that growing up in rural Appalachia, I wasn't poor, but I was not certainly middle class. And my parents, when their upbringing, they were very poor. But what I will say is that what Lewis described is exactly how my parents ended up with the Republican Party. They voted Democrat in every single election, all the way up until Bill Clinton, and then they felt betrayed on the social issues. The primary issues that they'll cite is, number one, first and foremost, is abortion. They say, I simply cannot, in good conscience, with my faith, vote for that, or anyone that will enact that. They say the same thing about a lot of the LGBTQ things, the policies, the latest one being, of course, the trans issue with regard to, especially with children, they're horrified when they see someone arguing for puberty blockers for children as, I've seen articles as low as 4 years old in some cases on some sort of track for puberty blockers when they hit that time, and they're already receiving counseling for gender dysphoria and
Right.
things at 4.
Right.
At 4. And so my family sees these things and sees the Democrat Party, in their view, at best they ignore it or tepidly endorse it, or in their view, at worst, full-throatedly endorse it. They just cannot will themselves to be a part of that in any way. They agree with them on most of the economic issues. Healthcare is a disaster. The rich certainly get an easier way than the poor in this country, but they simply cannot be part of what the Democrats are supporting. And then in addition to that, there's things that are said by the Democrat Party that they view as hostile. So recently we had a spate of shootings, which is far too common in this country. And I think it was Governor Gavin Newsom said, in response to people saying, thoughts and prayers, our prayers are with you, his response was, well, these children were likely praying when they got shot during this school shooting, implying that didn't help them. I could show you the quote, but
No, I don't doubt it.
But my family responded to those things. They see these things and they say, how can I support someone that not only doesn't share the same value in prayer that I do, but openly mocks it? So I think that the migration of evangelicals and really all denominations of the Christian faith, for the most part, toward the Republican Party, as Lewis said, is almost wholly attributable to the social positions and the tact that they take when speaking to that audience. I think that's the reality of it.